We're going live. It says we're live. Good morning. It's Monday morning. Hello and welcome back. I know I'm a complete stranger to all of you since you haven't seen me for 3 weeks or so. But I am back in the Western Hemisphere, and I want to say welcome to Monday Momentum. It's Monday morning, I believe, I hope. And we get together every Monday to help ourselves and those of you out there watching who are solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, people who usually work from home and often or can possibly get off track, need a little inspiration, a little support, knowing that they are not the only ones out there, most especially that other people believe in you, your dream, and what you're doing. So we get together to help each other with that kind of motivation, and you by being on a live hangout every Monday morning, 8 a.m. Pacific. My name is Sarah Coolidge. You can see it down there somewhere under the I'm Watching Ann stuff. And for those of you who are new to us, I've been out of the country for 3 weeks. Went to Africa with Ann Lorimer and her quest to climb Kilimanjaro and become the oldest woman in the world that has achieved that. It's still pending whether or not Guinness has to do their work to officially recognize Ann's achievements, but I can tell you there are pictures of her on top of Kilimanjaro, and as far as I'm concerned, she may or may not be the recognized oldest woman in the world to ever have done it, but she certainly did it, and I bet there's a birth certificate somewhere that shows that she's 85, so we're just waiting for the official recognition of an amazing, amazing accomplishment. And what Ann did was not only an effort to climb a mountain and make herself feel good, she did it to raise money for young children or young people, youth in our country that need some help. So the recognition that she's going to get once she's officially recognized as the world champion or the record holder or whatever it's going to be called is really, really going to propel some really good work forward. So we're all really excited that she did it. I'm thrilled to have been a big, major part of it by being there in Africa while she did it. And I want to just thank my crew here at home, which is Linda Kay and James McFadden. They'll say hi to you in just a minute, for kind of holding down the fort on Monday Momentum and doing their best to keep this momentum and the I'm Watching Ann's campaign momentum going as well during a time when we all learned that it can be really hard, in fact, maybe impossible, to get online in Africa and get your information onto the internet. It was a huge lesson that we spent some time on and we'll spend more time on today. But first, let me introduce my partners in crime. James is joining us today from the Salt Lake City airport. He's on his phone. He's got tons of background noise, so he will be muting and going in and out. And then Linda is, I'm assuming, in New Hampshire like she usually is. So Linda, why don't you introduce yourself, tell a little bit about who you are, what you're doing with us on Monday Momentum, and then James, and then back to me.
All right. Well, good morning, Sarah. Welcome back. It's really good to have you back here. And I really want to hear more about your Africa trip and all the things that you did there, and bringing us back to focus with Monday Momentum. So yes, I am in New Hampshire, enjoying what, short window we have here of summertime. It's pretty awesome. So welcome back and good morning. Happy Monday Momentum.
Thanks, Linda. James, can you unmute and say hi?
Too busy playing.
There you go. Good. And that's fabulous. I mean, there are so many lessons that I personally learned on this trip, and a big one of them is it's not a new lesson, but the ability to be flexible. We all do the best that we can, we hope, and our best is different every day. So my best today might not be the same as my best when I'm a little bit farther along in the recovering jet lag process. I didn't wake up till 4:30 this morning. I've been waking up at 3 every morning. So that's progress. But we set sail or flight into Africa thinking that, I've got all this cool stuff. I had a solar charger and a backup battery, that I had I don't even know what it's called, a memory device. I am not the most computer savvy person if you haven't figured that out, but a way to download pictures. James and I spent a ton of time teaching me about the cloud thing, which is called OneDrive, so that I could upload videos to you guys, so that I could send in pictures, so that I could keep you up to date. And, an incredible amount of work and learning before we even went, only to get there and find that really pretty much every hotel, every airport that says that it has Wi-Fi has a different version of that than what we are used to. So really, I couldn't do anything except for keep trying to take pictures and make some videos and try to record, but none of it could get through to you guys. So there's been this news blackout kind of for a couple weeks. I know there's been some information that's gotten through, and if you've paid attention to the website, and especially the I'm Watching Ann Facebook page, there's pictures up there of her on top of Keeley and things like that. But it was not the kind of updating that we had hoped for, and that was just the way it was. It was frustrating and maddening. It was interesting trying to buy a new SIM card for my phone when I don't know what a SIM card even really is, and ending up doing it on a street corner in the middle of an African city with a little table and an umbrella that the guy that was helping me said, okay, here's where you buy your SIM card. And I'm like, okay, it's not exactly what I expected. People cutting the SIM card down right there on the table and shoving it in and asking me for numbers, and I had to give my passport so that they could give me this card. And then, do you want data? I don't know. Do you want minutes? I don't know. I don't know what I want. I just want to be able to send a picture to James. And it kind of, you just got to flow with it. So lots of lessons. And we apologize that you couldn't get the information you might have been looking for while I was gone, but I can tell you we did our best, and there's tons of it coming now. So stay tuned. I would love to have you guys ask me a few questions, but I do want to share one little thing that I've been thinking about a lot since we came home. And there was expectations that I think we all had about all sorts of things on this trip, including I expected to get to the top of Kilimanjaro myself, and I didn't, and that's a whole nother story that surprised me. But you never know how you're going to learn something, and this concept that I know you both have heard of failing forward, of taking a failure or a perceived failure and growing with it instead of feeling miserable about it. I mean, I can tell you, being somebody who planned this trip for a long time, who put a lot of energy into getting ready for it, who maybe not as much as she thought she should, but sure plenty, a lot of money, a lot of investment, both mental, physical, spiritual. It was a real surprise to me that I did not end up on the top of that mountain. And to the challenge of, okay, well, what does that mean? And what will I do next? And how do I even say that to the world? Has really stretched me. And I'm just curious what you guys might have to say about that whole concept of, okay, this is what somebody might call a failure. How do I grow with it? How do I take it and turn it, from a sow's ear into a silk purse? So, Linda, do you have anything you want to throw out about that?
Well, I was just wondering myself, what your measures of success were, and then, how you're saying that it's failure. I know that you had hoped to get to the top of the mountain. For some reason, something prevented you from getting there. But I think it's really important that we don't throw away the whole trip and the whole experience because that one last little piece wasn't there. So, perhaps you can talk a little bit about how successful the rest of the journey was. Instead of just focusing on that one little piece that, you didn't make.
Yeah, thank you. And I do think that I'm doing that, but it certainly has brought the whole question into proper, immediate focus. Oh, okay, whoops, that isn't what I thought was going to happen. The expectation and then the result. James, would you like to add something? Mhm. Mhm. Well, I love your answers and thanks. I don't want to give the impression that I'm wallowing in misery about not getting to the top. There are certain moments where I'm like, really? I didn't get there? Wait a minute. The what I consider kind of the small me, the me that wants to force action on the world instead of let things happen the way they're supposed to. That one, once in a while, really does feel a lot of regret and unhappiness. But mostly, I don't feel that way. Mostly, I just feel like, wow, everything that happened was fabulous and wonderful, and there's no way I could have predicted it, including not getting to the top, because um, you know, in terms of how everything went up until the actual climb itself, there was every indication in the world that that I would, that it wasn't going to be an issue at all. And yet we were still, and me, saying things like, well, who knows what's going to happen? We don't know. And sure enough, something different happened. But I do love what both of you said, and in Linda in particular, how do you define success? What does success even mean to you? If it only means getting to the top, then sooner or later you're not going to be able to, if that's when you're 86, because at some point you won't be able to do it for whatever reason, and it can be such a severe blow if that's your only definition of success. And that's why I wanted to talk about it for our audience, for people out there that are entrepreneurs that may or may not be interested in Kilimanjaro or world records or any of this other stuff. It's still the same lesson, you guys. When something goes sideways, how do you handle it, and what do you do about it, and how do you grow from it? And when Linda said it depends on what your definition of success really is, that really helped me, because right before I left, I wrote a little note to the team that had been helping us with I'm Watching Ann. Really, we were all working like mad for at least 2 weeks before the trip started, and I got an email back saying, well, thank you, Sarah, for everything you did, basically, in part. And it really reminded me of a question somebody had asked me a long time ago, which is, what is success to you? And one of my answers at that time was, success to me means, in part, having the respect receiving respect from people that I respect. So to have someone honor me in this way of thank you so much for all the work you did was, to me, that was a huge success because this was a person that I have a very high respect for and esteem for, and for this one to turn around and say, Sarah, I think what you did is great, made me feel fabulous. I had a huge personal success by one of my definitions before we ever even went to Africa. So keep that in mind, you guys. You know, success comes in all sorts of different costumes and colors and shades, and you just don't know sometimes. But if you can hold open the possibility that I want the best outcome for all concerned, I don't know how that's going to happen, but I believe it's possible, and that's what I truly want. You will get some surprises, but you will feel good when it's all said and done, and you will sleep well at night. And that's what's happened for me because of all this. So thanks for that one, Linda. And James, you know, the lessons learned. I mean, God, we could write 10 books on what we've learned, what I've learned, and hopefully that will help us and help others in the future. So, any
Well,
other little tidbits that you guys might have?
well, Sarah, I got a question for you here. I'm just wondering if you're going to be creating perhaps an ebook or some type of
Oh,
information.
James, my God.
Yeah, James.
Yeah, James. That restaurant you're in is too noisy. Everybody there wants to know what Linda's trying to ask me.
So I don't know if you're going to create some type of ebook or e-product or whatnot to help people through some of the challenges that you experienced that maybe will add to success of someone else's journey.
You know, that's a great question, and there are tons of ideas that I have now. I went in with other ideas as well. So it's sort of a matter of priority. Which one do I think needs to be done first and how? And that'll be something that I'll be talking to you guys about, my little team of advisors. Um, I want to share with you on the airplane on the way home. You know, traveling to the other side of the planet is not nearly as hard as it used to be because of the endless amount of movies and things that you can watch and participate in on the airplane now. And one of them was an audiobook by a guy, I wrote it down, and Michael Michalowicz. And I'm not sure if I have the name of the book here. I meant, oh, yes, Life in Half a Second. I think is the name of the book. And it was very impactful for me and really appropriate at the time. And what he was talking about is based on the entire timeline of human existence, or maybe planetary existence, I can't remember. Basically, what we each have is half a second between the time we're born and die in comparison to that entire line. So, you know, what are you going to do with that half a second? And then he gives us an exercise where you say, okay, let's pretend you're going to live to the average age of 80. And you take your age now and what's going to be 80. So for me, that's 23 years that I have till I hit 80. And then you take that, multiply it by the number of days in a year. And I got 8,395 days, which is now maybe 8,390. And I looked at that number. I'm like, okay, that's maybe how many days I have left. That doesn't feel like a very big number. It was very impactful, and it really made me think about, okay, well, God, I'm so glad I spent the last 20 some days doing that amazing thing, stretching myself, stretching my children, stretching you guys. I mean,
You're stressing
really.
for James.
So, you know, that'll be something we'll talk about a little bit more too, because then it, you know, it's just another way of looking at, instead of talking about how much time you've spent on the planet, well, how much time do you have left, and what are you going to do with it, and what will feel really good, and something to really think about, and it helped me celebrate again. Wow, I'm really glad that we did this, even though there was pretty much nothing that was predictable about it. Now, James, I know you were dying to say something, so unmute. We'll listen. Oh, sorry. Mhm. Yay. Hmm. Yep. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. You know, um, that's a success rate or a failure rate, however you want to look at it, of like 30%, right? 15 people, five don't, I mean, if I'm, my brain doesn't work very well still, but that's exactly normal. One out of three that attempt don't get to the top. And for our group, we had people that were very sick with altitude sickness and challenges of that sort pretty much the whole time. And I don't know how those people did it. They got to the top. Um, all of them, really, pretty much, that started up that trail. So there was five of us that didn't, and two of those five didn't really even try to do that last ascent. They knew they weren't going to, and they were content with that. They were happy with what they had done so far. And the other three that didn't make it to the top were me and my kids. And you know, we went up to over 5,000 meters, which is over 17,000 feet. I mean, we were pretty dang high. And I can tell you, the actual climb itself that night, because it started at midnight, was way more challenging than even I expected. But there was magic in it as well, so much magic, and the reasons that we didn't make it to the top really don't have anything to do with our strength or our physical fitness or any of that. It's other stuff, and we will talk about it another time. But I don't know how Anne did it, except for that she decided she was going to do it, and you just put one dang foot in front of the other, and you just trust the people that are the pros that have done this before, that it's doable, and you just keep going. I mean, I know that much, I believe that much, just from when we turned around and went back down, my kids realizing how far they had actually come, because going back took forever. It's like, well, see how high you actually were? You see how far you really got? Because you don't notice it while you're going one step at a time. You know, you're thinking about how hard it is to breathe or how cold it is or whatever you're thinking about, and you don't realize, wow, I've already done, you know, more than half of it. Um, but that's what it takes. And Anne made a decision. She is physically fit. She hikes, she climbs, she's good at this. It was a skill area that she could certainly do versus deciding I'm going to become a, you know, an Olympic gold medal gymnast or something. She picked a field she works in well, but then she had to, you know, just make that decision. I've made this commitment. I'm going to, you know, do this for these kids. Her and her partner, Kevin, her nephew that's been working with her all along, made a deal. If I don't make it, you're going anyway. And they argued with each other about it, but they discussed that ahead of time, and we didn't in my family. So that was one of the things that, you know, she was willing to leave him behind in order to get to the top, and she told him, if I don't make it, I want you to go anyway. And so, but there was a willingness to, like, I'm going to do it without you. I'm still going to do it. And that was strength of character and commitment, and that's what got her there. But the whole team pulling together was huge, the energy that you could feel going up that mountain. There's so much more to it. And I know that the I'm Watching Ann campaign helped her make it happen. That she spoke about it frequently while we were together on this trip. That, there's pictures of me holding that dang sign, which is shredded beyond belief now because I carried it all the way. And it made a difference for her to know that there were people that really, really wanted her to succeed. And that tells us all about the importance of team and experts on your team helping you, and you really making a decision of, do you want to do this thing or don't you? And we were all told, if you feel sick enough, it's not worth your life. And people die climbing this mountain. It's that serious when you really get down to it. So I'm full of admiration for her. I couldn't believe it when she came down. I was like, you're down already? Oh my God, because coming down a big hill is pretty hard on your knees. It's real hard on your legs. It's a lot easier to go up than go down. And it was miles and miles and miles of coming down, and there she was suddenly in camp, and I couldn't believe it. And she had done it. Yippee for her. How great. How great. What an example for all of us. So we're almost out of time, you guys. Anything else you want to hit on this week?
Well, Sarah, on Monday Momentum, we talk a lot about planning and accountability. And you had mentioned that, you had lots of ideas of things that you might be able to do based on this trip. And I just want to know, what tool are you going to be using to track these things, and how are we going to hold you accountable to do something with this?
Oh gosh, I don't know what tool. I have thought a little bit that I would like to sit down with my kids and say, okay, you guys, let's make a list of all the things that we wished we had with us that would have made it better, because this is good for us in case we ever go again. And it's valuable information I don't want to lose, because there certainly were things. There are better ways to communicate, international phones and things like that. But I haven't thought of a mechanism for capturing all the ideas, and I think it's a really good question. Maybe that mind map thing, James, would be a start. Um, I just haven't gotten there yet. So if you have a suggestion for me, give it to me, and go ahead. You froze, is what you did. I'm like, are you really thinking?
It's for you not to follow, Sarah. Don't freeze.
What do I do? Oh my God. Hmm. Yeah, and I don't think that 80 is gonna be it. But that was just the number he gave, and it was an interesting um, exercise. So I don't want to avoid your question, Linda, and I'm going to think about it, and maybe that'll be what we talk about next week a little bit more in depth because, you know, I sometimes feel like I live sort of a geometric life that I have one thing going on and then suddenly it's six things and then suddenly it's 36 things and then it's 72. So I am not going to lie. I will tell you I came out of this with at least one project that I was not at all anticipating. And it felt good. And I said, yes, so we'll talk more about that next week. And maybe I won't be quite so hard to pin down because I'll have a little bit more feeling like I'm here and not somewhere else. I can tell you, just setting up this hangout was a real like, how do I do this? It felt like it had been 100 years. So let's sign off. Linda, you want to start and then pass it to James and then send it back to me?
Well, you know, you're back here on Monday Momentum, and that's so incredible. Look forward to being able to do more of these Monday Momentums with you. So welcome back. Linda Kay, signing out.
Thank Yes. Thank you, James. So neither one of them told you. Linda Kay is somebody you ought to hook up with if you want to make your website bigger and better, especially if you're worried about things like it being responsive, whatever that is. I can't remember. But she's a specialist at helping you build your website. And James can do that as well. Plus, he's got the big marketing twist. And both of them have been buds of mine for a while. We're all grads of CEO Space. And most recently, besides doing Monday Momentum for you and us, we've been heavily involved in this I'm Watching Ann campaign to help Ann Lorimer get the attention she needs because of the work she's trying to do. So thank you for joining us today. Please continue to check in with this because lots of cool photos and videos are coming, and it's really exciting to be part of something like this, and you can be just by joining with us. Next week, I'm not sure how it'll go, but I think we'll be a little bit more, I will feel a little bit more in sync. But I want to tell you, the reason that I do this, again, is because whatever your dream is, it's important that you don't give up on it. And that's why we're here. Thanks, you guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.